Hey everybody, JacqBean here. I know, I've been gone for such a long time. I'll tell you, the end of 2022 was not good for me. I ended up losing my dad right before Christmas. And you have to just kind of get through the initial shock of all of that. And as the new year began, my concentration was more on, making sure my mother was okay. So time just went by, and it went by so quickly. And all of a sudden, Fear the Walking Dead started, and I felt like that I needed to get back in there, just even for myself, for my own confidence and security. So I'm back, I'm here, and we're going to talk about this first episode of Fear the Walking Dead. So I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Fear the Walking Dead fan, and I probably don't know as many of the characters as I did with The Walking Dead. I looked at it a lot when it first came on. I thought it was really interesting. After Nick died, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I just would start looking at episodes here and there, but I started to look at it much more after Morgan came in. So I won't know like full stories or anything, but I'm definitely looking up stuff before I start talking about it. So we're going to start with the first episode, and it's called Remember What They Took From You. This episode was really about Morgan, Wren, and Madison. The beginning really talks to you to let you know how we got to this point. It shows Madison and Morgan in with Padre, who is taking Morgan's daughter, Mo. Madison sacrifices herself so that Morgan can escape and go and find Mo and get off of Padre Island. Her sacrifice puts her in jail. It imprisons her, and they made clear to her that they weren't going to kill her. They could make her life miserable just having her stay there. So this was at the very beginning. So this would be where we ended season 7. We have a jump ahead of 7 years. And they show Madison in this prison where they're taking blood from her. I mean, they're literally... You should see her arm. It's like she's a whole heroin addict forever. And it even hurts you to think that they keep taking blood out of the same veins in the same part of the arm while it's all bruised. And she's sitting there like she's just not fighting it. She's not going to fight it at all. She's just going to let them do it. She's not eating. And one of the holders said, "We have ways to make you eat." As they were leaving the room, she got from one of them their gun, and she tried to shoot herself. So she stuck it in her mouth and pulled the trigger. But they're like, "You think we would bring live ammo in here with you?" She said, "I know you want to die, but we're not going to let you go. You are our blood cow. We're never letting you go." Madison is pretty much checked out. She doesn't want to be there any longer. Then we get to meet Wren. Wren is in this controlled combat environment where she is kind of showing that she can kill a walker. And when I saw her there, I really just thought about Carl. Carl would have been able to flourish in this environment, even as a little kid when we first met him in season 1 of The Walking Dead, because he just wanted to kill a walker. He just wanted to be brave. He wanted to be able to do that. And Wren wants to be brave too. But when the walker gets close to her, she loses her nerve and she freezes up. So she's not able to kill it. So for Wren, someone had to go out there and kill it, or she would have been bitten. She then gets chastised for, "Why are you freezing up?" And she's wanting to have some extra personal one-on-one training time with the person that was in charge of the combat training, who would do it, but she said that she needed Wren to do her chores. So Wren went down to the basement to do her combat trainer's chores, and that's when she came across Madison's prison cell. It looked like that Madison was the only one down there. And of course, her childlike curiosity kept her kind of walking back. You could hear Madison muffle, "Is somebody out there?" And she goes to, walk. She says, "Closer." So she's walking over there, and she kind of pulls down the chute where I guess they put food through when you're in prison. But Madison tried to grab her arm, and so she scared her and me. And then she went running out. But Madison was like, "I'm not going to hurt you. I need your help." Later, she was talking to the girl who she was doing her chores for. She wanted to know who the prisoner was and why she was down there. And pretty much, she was told that the person down there's name is Lark, and that is Padre Allen's name for Madison, and that she was down there because she was very dangerous. She was I believe what they call it, a collector. So she went around and collected the children. She collected so many, but she kind of stabbed herself in the foot because she helped the dad get off the island with his little girl. Padre would be really angry if he knew that she had been down there with her and that she was to stay away from her because she was very dangerous. She'd even killed a dozen other guards with a sledgehammer. That's kind of cool, right? So that Wren's curiosity got the best of her completely this time, because now she heard that the lady down there was able to defeat the guards with a sledgehammer. She can use all the help that she can get, and she knows that the woman told her that she wouldn't hurt her. "I'm not going to hurt you." So, of course, Wren went back down when she was able to slide past the guards with a sledgehammer, of course. And Madison was able to talk her into helping her by telling her that she would train her to use the sledgehammer, which she really was going to do. She was kind of working at it. All she really wanted Mo to do, or Wren to do, was to cut off the oxygen. She wanted to die. She had given up. She just said that she did what she set out to do, and now pretty much she was ready to go. So she was showing Wren from inside her cell how to trying to explain and instruct her on how to use the sledgehammer, which she wasn't using correctly, and Madison got her to just give her the sledgehammer so that she can show her how to do it. But at that point, she just started breaking the window. She was getting out of there. But she did kind of get Wren to open up the cell, to kind of bark at her and tell her that, she wasn't shit. As she was talking to Wren, and Wren kind of pointed a finger at her, she was able to see the mark that she had on her arm. And that was the mark that was made on Mo. So she knew at that point that Wren, the little girl that in front of her, was actually Mo, and was probably more confused than anything that how is she there? How did Morgan not take her off the island, as she had kind of sacrificed herself for? So at that point, Madison decided that they were both getting out of here, and she was going to get her to safety outside of Padre Island. Some guards started to come down, but Madison got him. She acted like she was going to hold Wren for hostage, said, "I'll kill her," but she ended up just using that sledgehammer to knock him out, and they were on their way, her and Wren, of course. The next time we see them, they're on a boat, so she got them off of the island. And she was definitely having some problems with breathing. She had some severe lung damage. So she's on oxygen. And Padre would give her the oxygen for being a collector for him, for getting the children. When they got on the land, Wren had her some strategy. As they were walking away, she made like she was getting stuck in the mud. When Madison came over to help her, she hit her and, kind of knocked her down. She wasn't really knocked out, but she just took her legs from under her, and she took her walkie-talkie and ran. And she got to a place where she could call and radio into Padre that they should come and get her. But Madison got back pretty quickly. She took the walkie-talkie away from her before she could really let them know where they were. And then the dead started to come. And Wren, who didn't want to go with Madison, decided that she was an expert. She was a survival person. And, even Madison was like, yeah, but you couldn't kill the dead before. But she's like, I can do it. And she took the stick and she was going to kill the dead that was coming to her. But she started having these flashbacks. Like you can tell, they were just the dead coming. It was really close to her. And she froze again. And she needed the help. Madison had to kill it. And then we see Morgan out of the blue, coming up out of the water. He had heard Wren's call on the walkie-talkie. And he went to get there to get closer to her. Even when he looked at her, you could see in his eyes that, he knew that it was Mo and he hadn't seen her in such a long time. She doesn't know who he is. And he lets Madison know that he heard her on the walkie-talkie and he was coming to take her back to Padre. So let's talk a little bit about that. When I kind of heard that and saw Morgan, he really looked like he did when it was Jenny and Dwayne, back in the earlier seasons when he couldn't take care of Dwayne, and when what happened to Jenny, he couldn't kill her. And it felt like that all over again. Not that it is, because you can't really tell just yet, but his demeanor was very much like that. And to find that he gave her to Padre because he didn't feel like he could take care of her really just kind of emphasized it to me. He's fighting a little bit with Madison, but it's not really much of a fight. She puts up a good effort at all times, but she's just too weak. She needs oxygen, so she just really complained to him that, listen, I've been in jail all this time so that you could be with her. What is wrong with you? And he's saying, well, I think that you were right. You said that Padre Island would be better for her, or I would be able to be better for her than I was, or Morgan was. And, he's believing that. She's like, what do they have over you? Because Padre doesn't just, he puts something over people in order to keep their children. What did he do to you? We never found out in the episode, but I'm sure we'll find out in another episode. So on the walkie-talkie, Padre calls, he's calling actually to Wren to say, we got your SOS, where are you? Morgan took his walkie-talkie and said, this is Nightingale. So you see they got like a bird thing happening, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Morgan tells him that he has Wren and Lark and that he was bringing them back to Padre. And Padre was like, we don't want Lark no more. She's become a liability. I think he's like, you can kill Lark because we don't need her no more. So Morgan pulled out his gun to shoot her, and I was flabbergasted. Morgan's mental state was like it was when he needed to clear when Dwayne ended up being bit by his wife, who he was afraid to shoot. But at that time, he would shoot you just for being alive. And it felt like this was the same type of reaction he was having here. But he wanted to continue to protect Wren at any cost. With him trying to talked to Wren, instead of paying attention to Madison, she was able to get the upper hand on him. She at least got his, she got him down and got his gun. And she's like, listen, I tried to protect her, and I'm going to protect you too. And then the walkers came. They had to go into this house that really didn't look much nicer. It was like the walkers lived in that house. Morgan said that he didn't want to go in there because when he originally took Mo, that's where they went. She asked him what happened there, but he was like, I don't want to bring about nightmares for Mo. Not that she would have remembered it one, but guess what? She totally remembered, but she thinks that she's having nightmares more than anything else. And that is affecting her from being able to protect herself against walkers. So they continue to walk through the swamp. They need to get to shelter. And they're arguing back and forth. Oh, I'm going to stop you from taking her back to Padre. Oh, no, you're not. And so on and so forth. And poor Wren is like, whatever, just get me out of here now. They get to the house, and it's like in the middle of the swamp. It looked crazy. It's tilted and falling in the water, but they think they'll be safe in there as long as they don't kind of stir up the walkers. So while they were in the house, Morgan and Madison, they were talking. Morgan was trying to fix her oxygen so that she could breathe. She's coughing and she's having episodes. And she's looking at him, she's talking to him, she's saying, what do you think? Why do you think Padre wants to arm and have 8-year-olds or children be killers? There's something there that's going to happen, And Morgan's like, you don't think that she'll be safe? And, Madison was pretty much like, listen, I've been there too long in jail. I don't know anything. But during this time that they were talking, the view turns to Wren, who is kind of wiping stuff off on the wall. It's just like smuts and stuff all on the wall. So she started to kind of clean it off. And you saw things like Kings County, Jenny, Dwayne. I can imagine that during the time that they were there with all those walkers around, he had the same kind of episode that he did with Claire. When he was with Claire, them, getting bitten and not wanting to see that for the little baby girl. She had to be only 1 year old or so at that time. And that I thought that he seemed to be acting that way, and just seeing that tells me he was exactly in that headspace when he was in there. And instead of just going out and killing everybody else the way he did in Clear, he wanted to save her. So he gave her back to Padre because he thought that she would be better protected with them than she would with him. Of course, Wren doesn't believe anything that he's saying. She knows that something happened and that he's hiding it from her. As she's looking through things in the room, she saw a little thing that could have been a bed, and it had like a teddy bear, but she also saw a Walkman that miraculously still works after 7 years. And she started to listen to it, and she could hear Grace singing her a song, and she starts to remember. She starts to remember what happened. All of the walkers in the water coming at her, coming at Morgan. They were going to pull the house down into the swamps. That's what happened. That's what she remembers. That's what scared her so much. And she's like, we should have never come here. Wren all of a sudden sees a gun, and she picks the gun up, and she's really looking to get Madison. She felt like all of this is happening because Madison brought them there, and that she doesn't give a shit because she wants to die. And and she's trying to tell her that she's not, but she has it pointed at her face, and she looks like she's getting ready to pull the trigger too. But Morgan grabs her arm, so she shoots up in the air. And what does that do? As all noise does, it brings in the walkers. So they start to get out of there. They got to get out of there. And Morgan and Wren, he's trying to get them out of there. And the walkers just keep coming. And Madison is just kind of like, you go. You take her. You take her to safety. I'll hold them off. I think that Madison isn't caring what happens to her. Whatever happens is okay with her. She's done what she could do or what she came to do. Now Mo is even mad at her, and so she just wants her to get out and for them to be safe. At one point, she's sliding down into the water. The house is sliding down into the water because the walkers, or as they're known to by the folks on Padre, Carry On, are pulling the house down into the water and kind of getting themselves up there and surrounding Madison. So then Grace comes through in the boat and she shoots to free Madison. We find out that in the past, when Morgan and Wren were in this position, because remember it happened to them when they went into that house, they got out of it by Morgan killing as many as he could, but then Padre came and saved the both of them. They're all sitting on some land, and we find out that Grace called Padre. She wants her to go back as well to Padre. And, I'm just like, oh, MG. What did these people say to them that would make them want to give up their child to that place? Because that place is something. Wren finds out that Grace is her mom. And she was saying that she remembered the voice that was singing to her on the cassette. That was still, it was working after 7 years. And, she really started to feel something for Morgan and Grace, knowing that she has parents. And she's like, we don't have to go back. She wanted to stay with her family. She definitely learned how to fight being with them, but she wanted to stay with them. And they were like, no, you got to go back. You got to go back. Mo didn't want to go. She's like, I'm not going back. There's so much I have to learn about you. She's just getting to know them. You saved me before. You saved me this time. I don't want to go back. But they insisted. Grace was like, you have to forget what you've seen here, or you forget, the things that happened in the past. At that point, the Padre guard boats came on shore to pick them up. And of course, it was a couple of boats. One of them they put Wren in because they were taking her back to Padre. Another boat they put Madison in. From my point of view, it looks like they were going to take her someplace to kill her because they didn't want her anymore. Before she left, though, she did grab Morgan and say, remember what they took from you. And as the boat that Wren was on went away, you could see Morgan's face, kind of like, I think I made a mistake, and I hope he's strong enough to know that he made a mistake and get his kid, because that place, I'd rather my kid be with Negan than him. And that's saying something, because I'm not a fan of Negan. And then that woman, she was the one that was taking blood from Madison. I don't remember hearing her name. She walked up to Morgan, and Morgan asked her, where did he want to go? Where did Padre want him to go next? Because he's doing this, collecting this stuff that Madison did. He'd go out and find children to bring back to Padre. And they said, we don't want you anymore, because Wren kind of knows you're her dad. I don't know what that's going to do to her, kind of understanding that. And he's like, well, it'll never happen again. She won't be worried about me being her dad. And he was like, and she was just like, for now, but what if you change your mind? So at this point, take him away. So they are going to kill Morgan because they don't want Mo, since she knows that he's her dad, to have any other kind of thoughts. that may be different from Padre ideology. So they are taking him away. So right now we got him and we got Madison that look like at this point that they're going to be taken away to be killed. See Wren sitting in the room with, I guess, a speaker, because you never see Padre. We don't know what he looks like so far. Probably in one of the later episodes. He tells her that she's going to have a crucial role to play in things as they move forward. And in the end, she is comfortable and confident. She's able to kind of kill the carry-on, because now she's not afraid. She understands where she comes from. But she's a little strategic. Wren's a little strategic. I think that mind is thinking about how she can start a little trouble. And that is how this episode ends. So that's that. So what's up with Padre? And the bird names, of course. So we had Lark and Wren and Nightingale. We'll definitely have to see how our other fear characters fall with their bird names as well. And what kind of place just kind of wants children, want to take them completely away from their parents. They don't want them to remember them. You know, Wren didn't remember hers. She does now, but, you know, in 7 years, if they had her since she was 1, then I don't even know how much it's believable that she remembered the things that she does. But she's strategic. I think she has a view of something that she wants to do, and she's going to be pretty unstoppable with her, you know, killing, since she's not afraid anymore. And what about Morgan and Madison? You know, it's not going to be too much. They're definitely going to find a way to get out of it, because they're the stars of the show. We know that they're not going to be going. Not that they wouldn't kill, because The Walking Dead would definitely kill major characters, but I couldn't imagine that anything is going to happen to them right now. And once they get away, because I know they're going to get away, they have to. That's just the way it needs to be. Will he go back for Wren? Will he have changed his mind about leaving her with Padre, especially since they would want to kill him because they don't want him to decide that he want to get her back, and they don't want her to remember him. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment, and let's start the Fear the Walking Dead conversation as we continue through this final season. As you all know, we'll have 6 episodes that will happen. I believe it'll happen even before Dead City comes out in June or shortly thereafter. And the final 6 will come out in the fall. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit the notify button so that you can know when my next video is coming back out. I am back. It was really good to do this video, and I'm looking forward to doing more. So until next time.